I mean, this is digital entrepreneurship in action. Like literally on the fly, I was like, "Hey, I fucking hate Canva. I can't figure it out." And you're like, "It's easy." I'm so sick and tired of hearing how easy Canva is. But you're like, "All right, chill out. Jump on here. I'll walk you through it." So
I think the beauty of Canva, what it does is it takes all of those like use cases that you would apply in like a program like Photoshop and makes it just so much easier. It strips it down. It takes away all of the bells and whistles, upsides, and then challenges with Canva is you don't have as many ways to edit and like customize very specific variables of your content. But in terms of building out like an entire design, a campaign, things like that, it's absolutely possible. And I think Canva makes it easy because it actually does like automate some of those things that in Photoshop or in Illustrator or even in InDesign can take hours to do if you're doing it manually. It's kind of like either you're building a cart entirely from scratch or you're getting a kit, an out of the box kit that kind of helps you walk you through it. So that's sort of how I see Canva.
I think the problem with I have with Canva specifically is that the at least I know when you see Photoshop and Illustrator, you know it's a beast. You know what you're getting into.
Yeah.
This is like everybody says it's so easy. They're like love it. They think it's a lifesaver. I jump on it. Looks so easy,
The shape and width clothes.
can't find anything. I can't find the stuff. I see you just whip through it. So be a good time to just show me the basics of this. It's a tool that is supposedly, I've been told, helps as a lifesaver. But there are some quirks clearly you know and I do not. As you can see, my my bottle cap has been pulled. My strings, I'm a mess. So what are we doing today? And show me how to do the basics so I can at least stop bugging you every 2 seconds for help.
All right, so let's talk through some of it. First things first, I'm going to show you just the interface and some of the basic things that you need to know. So right away, when you get a Canva account, Canva's free for all users, number one. So anyone can use it, but it's sort of a freemium model. In order to get access to any of the really cool features, the stock imagery library or stock asset library, because they also have videos, audio, motion graphics, all kinds of stuff in there. So all of that's part of the premium package. I think full transparency, we pay like $12.99 a month for it, up to 6 or 7 users, I want to say. So I know $12.99 is the number because I saw it come through last night. I was like, okay, but that's what it is. It's actually super affordable. And then in terms of the tool interface and platform hosting itself, you can either access it on a browser. I use Google Chrome, or you can access it through the app. So Canva has their own little desktop app, at least for Macs they do. I think they probably have something similar for other operating systems, but let's talk it through. It's pretty similar whether you're on a browser or in the app. There's also the mobile version. Right when you go to canva.com, this is what you get hit with. So you have, if you want to do like a quick design or something like that, you can just go right up here. You can literally create a design and specify the preset specs of it, or you can, just create something custom. So a lot of times if I know that I just want a square design, it's going to be quick, it's going to be easy, I'll just go up here and do like 1,000 by 1,000. The pixel ratio is totally up to you. You can scale the size when you output it and download it. So if you start at 1,000 by 1,000 pixels, but then when you're finished with the design, you're like, oh shit, I actually need this to be like 5,000 by 5,000 because I'm going to use it for a 4K video edit. You can just scale it when you go to download it. You can size it up, which is really a nice feature to have. So that's the basics of creating a quick design. Over here on the left-hand side, there's all kinds of stuff that's in this panel. A lot of times you can customize this panel too. So I have some like starred stuff. You can remove some of these tabs if you want, but I think this is kind of the basic layout. So go over to templates. These are different templates that you can just jump into. A lot of these are pre-created and crowdsourced. So if you go in and you're like, I want to find a YouTube banner or something like that, you can either navigate through it this way. You can find specifically like what you're looking for. Let's say YouTube thumbnails. Okay. And then you can kind of like just scroll through this library of existing templates that Canva already has. And again, a lot of them are crowdsourced. Some of them are created by Canva, but for example, you can take any of these and you can just hit customize this template and it opens it into a new window for you where you have full editing access. You can replace all of that. So that's the basics. You can also search for those templates up here. So if you want YouTube thumbnails, You can literally just type it up here, hit enter, and then you'll get, anything that's tagged with that keyword across Canva. All kinds of really cool stuff you can do. So you can have like an Instagram carousel, pretty much any type of marketing content piece or collateral, including print stuff, business cards.
It's clear that someone would have a passive income template up here because those people are lazy. So it's good marketing.
I know that would be the one that I chose too. Storyboard. Like it's so really the opportunities or like the options, I guess, really with Canva are pretty limitless. So I like to start under this section and just start searching things. Like if I'm starting out on a new project altogether and I don't really know what I want it to look like, or I'm just needing some inspiration, between checking the socials and seeing what's going on in conversations on like Twitter and TikTok and stuff like that. A lot of times when I'm getting really close to actually putting cursor to digital surface and trying to start my design process, I'll come over here and look for something similar, just so I can have an idea of how other people have set them up, how other projects or brands, I guess, are using that same kind of content. Sometimes I don't find anything good worth looking at. Sometimes I find, those little hidden gems. So I'm going to come back over here to the main page. Projects is, I already went through the home, I went through templates. Projects is really just where you can keep a rolling folder structure for all of the projects that you work on, so that it's not just all placed into one big group of assets and content. So think of it really just like your Finder or your, I don't know what the Windows equivalent of the Explorer, whatever the window is that shows all your files on your computer. It's kind of similar to that. So you can group it, you can folder them, you can have your own team like we do, and that keeps everything together. It also allows you to have additional people under that team. So anyone that we add to this team, I think we have like 6 or 7 seats available in it, will have access to all of the content and everything that's under this. There's also a content planner options. I'll get into brand here in a second because that's a really important one we'll dive into. But content planner, you can go through and actually create and schedule out content through here. It's nice to see, especially if you're doing like quick designs or quick social stuff and then you're just wanting to put it onto a calendar. I've never actually fully used this. I'm not even sure if there's publishing capabilities, but if you're a visual person who likes to just see the days of content going out, if you're doing it for your brand or something like that, I think that's a good way to see it. There's also a ton of apps and integrations.
How do we miss World Pancake Day?
I know.
National Pancake Day, not World Pancake Day. That's different.
We have International Podcast Days coming up.
All right.
And that's kind of cool. You click on it and it has some designs. World Smile Day.
Oh, okay. That's cool. I didn't know it does that. So it gives you some stuff there.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. And then, obviously you can like add your own content to it or write what it is. It says that you can schedule it. I don't know how. There you go. Okay. We'll have to come back to this because this is, I think, a relatively new feature. So that is the basics of this. What I'm going to get into now is the brand section. And this is essentially creating what is called on Canva a brand kit. So this is really good for when you are creating a lot of content. You're designing a lot of stuff in Canva, all centered around the same, brand or project. It just makes it easy because you can have all your colors in one place, your logos, your typography, that kind of stuff. So I figured we could go through and create a brand kit for Unfantasy Football, because we don't have one yet. Unless you have any questions, John.
Nope. I have my mute because there's a hurricane outside, but really it's not hit anywhere over here. There's a hurricane inside. The kids are off from school today, so got a lot of yelling and going. But I'm listening. All
right. So I'm going to go through this. I'll set up the brand kit, and then I'll show you quickly how that's a really useful, efficient tool to kind of have, and how it works and why it's important. So right now we'll go through it. It's going to look like, okay, why are we doing this? But you'll see how it comes together. So we're going to call it Unfantasy League. We can always update that. Create. Okay. So first things first, we got to add logos, colors, and fonts. We have the logos somewhere, but I might actually have to go in. You're going to see me do a true Canva hack this time around. Okay, so we're gonna type in, by the way, if you're ever looking for something that you know you've created and you wanna search for it, there's 2 tabs. So you can either search for, if you type it in and search for templates, you're just gonna find the whole smorgasbord of all things in Canva. If you search it under your projects, you'll find specifically keywords of things that you have physically designed. So
I did not know that. That's a good tip.
yes. So your projects, highlight that one when you're searching for something you're looking for. And I know we have this logo somewhere, but I'm gonna re-grab it. That's not even proper English. I'm going to resave it and re-export it from this slide right here, because this is sort of what we've been using as the logo. And what I'm going to do is hit share. This is what you want to click anytime you're downloading anything. You hit share and you're going to go download. Make sure that you have your file type selected so I usually go for PNGs, especially for logos. I'll want the transparent. So I'm going to hit this, and I am going to 1200 by 800. I'll bump it up a little bit. So this is what I was talking about earlier, where you can change the size. So you could export this as like 3600 by 2400 pixels. You could size it down 600 by 400. I want a medium-sized file so that I can scale it without it losing any pixels. So 1800 by 1200 sounds good to me. I'm going to hit transparent background, so that way we don't get the black in the background. And then I'm going to, on select pages, I'm going to drop this down, unselect, because by default, it selects all pages on your Canva file to download. So unless you truly want to download all of them, and I can tell you it'll get messy sometimes, especially if, I have files that are like 40 slides or 40 artboards long, and sometimes I forget to do this, and it's not fun, because then you have to download the entire package of like 40 assets. So I'm just going to hit slide 2, page 2, transparent background, got my size, got my file type, and hit download. And that'll take a second. Perfect. I have it right over here. And now I'm going to come back over to this brand kit, go to logos, upload that logo that I just downloaded. And I'm actually going to make a inversed color version of this as well. So I'm going to change this just to see it. I'm going to change this to black, this to black.
And you would do that, why? Just because if your logo is ever on something black or something white, then you just have an inversed one?
Yep, exactly. Okay. Yep, so that'll be exactly if we have like a light background that we want to put it on. And then with the way that the Canva's brand kit works, it allows you to upload multiple versions of the logo. So it'll help to dynamically place those for you. So we're going to make sure file size is good. Again, 1800 by 1200, download. Perfect. Okay. So we got the white version, we got the black version. It starts to pull in these colors automatically. So let's just keep one of these, and I'm going to put white as one of the colors because obvious reasons.
That's cool. So does it give you the color code automatically for that?
Yeah, it just pulls it from the logos. And sometimes they're not right? Like sometimes a brand's colors aren't in their logo. And so it's trying to use its AI to make the best decision of what the brand colors are. But, anyone can fully customize these as well. So if you want,
It's always very annoying to try to find your, hashtag FFS102, whatever specific one. So
yeah, that's the way to do it. Okay, so I'm going to add this navy on here. We haven't explicitly used it too much, but we also don't have a brand kit yet. So I'm going to throw this on there just as like an accent color to use so that you can see sort of the scale of how this tool will work. And you can add a secondary palette. I'm going to title this one Primary Color. All right. So we got our logos. We have our palette. You can upload custom fonts if you want, but luckily I know that we have a font that's already here. Canva is really great for fonts. They have a huge library, tons of open source and licensed fonts that anyone can use as long as you have like the premium subscription. Even with the free, they have a lot of options. So I know Hitchcut is what we use as our primary title. Let me make sure that I'm not missing anything. I'm gonna pull up we're getting a little sneak peek behind the scenes right now. Aha, here it is. This one, Sports World. Sports, okay. So those two are really the two primary ones that we've been using. As of right now, I don't think we even have a body font. So we can select one. Let's just do like a basic sans serif for now. We can always come back and change it. Open Sans is a good one. Cool. So we've got our primary header font, our subhead font, and then our body font here. And this is Unfantasy Football League. So it's been shared to our team, and I will show you now how that kind of works as we go through it. So I'm just going to give you a quick run through. Let's pretend we're creating a thumbnail. YouTube thumbnail. Okay. I'm going to pick one of these random ones, and you know what? Let's see. Sometimes you can put keywords in the search and find some stuff. So football thumbnail, perfect. This will be a good one. So let's say
Canva's an Australian company, right? That's why I assume, right? So this is why it's football.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's not a...
See, this like just goes to show I didn't even think through that when I clicked on this. So let's say we like this thumbnail. Obviously the colors aren't right. The text isn't right. We have to switch out this image. But, you know, we like the look and feel of this general thumbnail approach. And so how can we kind of make this Unfantasy Football League style? So what you're going to do first things first, you know, do you have a one-liner, John, that you could give me to put here? Maybe like a trade alert. I know we did something like that last week.
Sure.
So do a trade alert. This is all just for mock-up purposes, so we're not using it for anything, but who knows, maybe. Maybe we'll put the logo. Let's just say week 3. I don't know. Week 3, trade alert, and then let's delete this and put in our logo. So how you would do that is you come over here to styles on the left-hand side. We can collapse this, by the way. So this is your toolbar when you're actually in your Canva design. Over here on your left-hand side on desktop version.
This is where I always mess shit up from here on out.
All right, so this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna go to styles, okay? And up here on this drop down is where you're gonna switch between your brand kits. So right now we have it set to one of our clients, but I'm gonna switch it over to Unfantasy Football League. And what that does is it changes the text up here and it changes the color palette. And if you go over to logos down here, it has these little logos hanging out down here for you, ready to take. So we're going to take this one, put it up here. And we know we still need to update some of this. So I'm going to put in a new photo. Let's put in a football field. By the way, this is where you search for your photos. So you have I'll go through this in a second. Here, I'll replace this first. You can drag that in. A lot of things are drag and drop. Let me back up just one second and get through this toolbar, what it is really quick. So templates over here, if you want to switch your template or like add a new one, it's basically just another way to view, like over on this when we were typing stuff in up here and we saw all of these search results come in. This over here is the same approach, it's just in a different format. So it's in your left-hand bar instead of on the full page. So you can still find a lot of those same thumbnails, all the templates, and say you're just like, oh, I hate this and I don't want to use this one. I want to use this one. You can just swap it out and it does it for you. So I'm going to hit Command Z and undo that because I don't actually want to change it. But it's cool to know that, you know, you can easily just switch them and it changes the text a lot of times for you too. So what I did was drop a photo in, and you can do that by going over here to elements. And elements is like, think of this as anything that's like stock assets. It's shapes, it's graphics, it's like stickers, it's even like GIFs and motion graphics. It's stock imagery photos, it's video, stock video, audio, charts. So anything that's a physical asset, a digital asset, I should say, that you're adding onto your Canva artboard and it's not something that you specifically uploaded, you can find it here in this elements section. So all you have to do is go over to elements and type it. You can say like, oh, I want a box frame or something like that, you know, and then you can find it and you can click on it and it'll add it. So if I were to take this, it adds it right here. You can change the color of it up over here. Not every asset has color options, but a lot of them do. So, you know, you can take it and do what you want with it. I'm not actually going to add any additional assets to this, but this is just to kind of show how that works. Uploads, same situation. Is, you know, you put your stuff in here that you want to upload. You can drag and drop it directly over. I'll show you really quick with one of those logos. Dropping it in, and boom, my upload is right here. So
who's Jake's rock and country band? I feel like we need to hear some of that music.
I know. I feel like we need to call it out. I have no idea. Put it on it'll be the playlist.
Yep.
This video. So that's where you keep all your uploads. It separates your images, videos, and audio. Which is
what's the record yourself?
It's like kind of like Loom.
Oh, okay.
I feel like if I
can't do it because we're on the camera on this one, but
yeah, it gives you an option to do like audio or video and audio, and you can kind of do like a full, you know, selfie video, if you will, and it takes it and just implements it right here. Oops.
Got it.
Good. So that is that.
If you wanted to change, so one of the things I have problems with is layers. It's like, how the heck do I get back to the back layer? Or if I want to get back to the front layer, it's always a challenge for me, and that's where I mess things up.
So that is the biggest challenge, I think, for most people on Canva. I remember I said, like, it's definitely not Photoshop. So layers aren't really a thing that exists in a traditional sense on Canva. Everything is kind of on one layer, and then it's just stacked according to how you stack it. So the best way to move things between layers is to highlight the asset that you're looking for on the artboard, right click it, and then just use these placement commands for where you want to nest it. Either it's all the way at the front, you can send it all the way to the back. It's not going to go behind this background image because right now this background image is clipped to the artboard, so it's technically the background. But you can move it in those ways. It gets tricky if you have a ton of assets that are layered on top of each other. The best way to get around that, I found, is just selecting multiple of them like this. You can drag it, or you can do Command A and it selects everything on your artboard. But if you drag it, you can kind of get an idea of what you're highlighting, and then you can kind of move it over and then work over in this area, and then come back, select everything again, and move it back on top.
Okay.
So that is one of the limitations that for me has definitely been like frustrating. I found my workarounds and kind of like gotten into a rhythm with it at this point. But for a long time, I'm like, why can't I select this? And, you know, when you go to like select something and there's a huge, what do they call it? Like a container around an item. So like this, for example, even though it's transparent, you can still see the container is covering like the right side and the left side of the arrow, which means that if you hover anywhere in those areas, you're still going to hit that container where there's empty content. So it's just one of those little frustrating things that there's tricks and little tips to get around it. But the best thing that I found is placing it certain ways. So sending to back, forward, bring to front, bring to back, or just selecting all of it, dragging it all together and moving it.
So you had some like layers on layers and layers. So I was just like, I wasn't sending it back or forward. At some point I was just dragging and like throwing that shit out the club because I was like so annoyed. So there's layers that way, and then I couldn't find them to get them back. So that's how this comes up.
So one of my favorite little tips, I don't know if it's even really considered a tip, but a lot of times what I'll do is I'll just keep duplicating the slides. So there's a few ways to do that. You can come down here to like where, you know, your slide. Right now, this is the only artboard. I'm calling them slides, but really they're just artboards, but they kind of look like slides. So that's why I'm referring it to as that. But you can take it and you can just duplicate it and then keep building on it. So what I'll do is I'm like, okay, I know that I don't want to mess with any of this yet, but I want to try something different. So I'll just copy and paste this. I'll come over here and I'll move this. Say I want this like this. Maybe I don't want this background here. I don't want these. I think that looks kind of better. Like here's another version of it. And then I'm like, okay, I want to sit with that one for a second, but then I want to keep building on it, but I don't want to lose the progress that I have there. So instead, I'm going to create a new slide. I'm going to duplicate based on that one. I'm going to rearrange it this way, you know, have sort of a different look and feel to it, maybe add some more graphics. And so this is kind of a process that I constantly find myself going through. It helps to sort of mitigate some of the layer issues that you mentioned, Jon, where it's like, you know, you have so many assets in one spot, it's hard to sift through them. If you start to separate it out, especially if you're just in the brainstorming or like initial design build stage of it, this gives you some of that like leeway to sort of play around with it without losing progress, without, you know, accidentally deleting a whole bunch of assets altogether. So this is one of the ways that I typically go with it, but I'll delete those two for now. So that is layering and sort of how to move assets around. We talked about uploads already. I'll talk about text. So if you want to add new text over, you know, you can go over here to your text bar. Again, make sure that you're in the right brand kit, because if you're in a different one and you try to go add text and it's not the same text that you know that you have as part of your brand, you're going to be like, what the hell? So just make sure that you hit the drop down and that you're in the right one. So then from here, all you have to do is you can add a heading, you can add a subheading, you can add your body text. Even after you've added it, you can still adjust like the font if, you know, you want to do something different or you want to deviate from, you know, your brand kit a little bit.
Somebody's already getting ahead of the Valentine's Day on the team or something.
They are. I know, and they have some really cute font combinations too. So like, you know, if you're at a loss and you're maybe not a typography person and you're just right. Like, I just need like something that looks cool. Like this looks cool actually. And then you can just, you know, take that and that becomes, you can edit it and that becomes your...
You're supposed to make me hungry.
Here we go. Okay, so we got text. Photos, same situation. You can technically search all photos and video from this Elements tab. So I rarely use the Photos tab. This is just like a fun fact that I've found out over the months of being so deep in Canva. I'm like, all the photos stuff is in this Elements. So I really use this Elements tab for everything. Let's see, outdoor picnic. If you were to type something, you can then segment how you...
I just said, not supposed to make me hungry.
I know. It was like a subconscious...
I'm just teasing. I don't think picnics really make me hungry. It just reminds me of like just blah sandwiches and bugs. So I'm good.
What are you talking about? These guys look like they're having a great time.
Yeah.
So, all right, my favorite part, that's how photos, elements, text, all of that stuff works. But my favorite part, remember we did the brand kit earlier. So we're going to go over here to styles. And again, we're still using this template that we just came up with in the search bar. So like this was a pre-created template. It doesn't look that great yet. It doesn't look very branded yet, but we're going to hit this. We're going to come over to styles and then we're going to hit this button over here that's just shows your typography and it updates it all for you. You can sometimes shuffle through it. So if you have a lot of different text placements on one slide, you can hit this a few times and shuffle through like different versions of how your text might appear based on your branding. I can show you an example of that here in a bit. But in the meantime, I want to make sure that you saw that. So this is how it looked. And then you come over here, you hit this button, changes your text to your branded text. And then you're going to do the same thing for your colors. So this is our color palette. And it shuffles through your colors. So you can change it, you know, you can manually go in and change some of these. You can change all of them really, but this is a good way of quickly versioning something. So now I'm starting to realize like maybe this setup isn't the best with the way that we have it. So I'm gonna find a new thumbnail and we're gonna try and see if we can make that work. So I'm gonna come over here. We're gonna do sports. Let's do football.
American football.
Okay. So then we're going to go over here to our styles. I'm going to change the typography. I might have to switch those around. I want this to be all caps. So I'm going to hit this button right here, uppercase.
It's like the perfect typography for someone that's concussed or wants to read like they're concussed.
Yeah, exactly.
We need to address it.
There we go. Maybe we give it a little bit more letter spacing. Okay, and then we want to change the colors. So we're going to come over here and it's just going to change those colors into our brand. So it'll shuffle through. So it's like, okay, fine. That one looks fine. You know, and then maybe we want one more to test out, this one. Okay, let's see what this looks like in our style. I'm going to do color first. It is the concussed look. So yeah, I mean, this one's not great, but 3 thumbnails in like, I don't know how long that was.
Some of these fonts make you see like words you never noticed before and stuff. Like I didn't know there was the word Rican in American. I never noticed that before. It's the weirdest thing. You think I would have at some point, but
all the Ricans.
I used to have a buddy that was the freaking Rican. He was from Puerto Rico, but I mean, I didn't know I was a freaking Rican too. So I didn't have the concussed font at that point.
Yeah, see, it makes you see things. It's helping you in the long run. So that is the basics of it. You know, having a brand kit is essential for doing these quick versioning things. One thing I do want to show before we move on into the next piece that we have to design is resizing. This is also one of my all-time favorite features of Canva. So,
and I think what we should do, just to interrupt you in there, don't mean to do that. I think what we should do, because I have a call in 5 minutes, this should be a part 2, but what would be cool, because this video is recorded, I will come in and try to design it based on this. It's not going to look great. We know that stuff. You can maybe come on later and we can clean it up. Because I feel like I'm a little more dangerous now than I was.
Good. Can I show the resize really quick? Okay.
Yep. Thank you.
So say we like this slide too, and we want to get it into a story, like an Instagram story. So we're going to go to resize up here. And then we're going to scroll down and you can either do it manually by just inserting the pixel variables or the pixel specs that you want, or you can come down and find, you know, the actual format of what you're looking for. So I want an Instagram story. I'm going to click this. I don't want to resize this one because I still want these horizontals. So I'm going to hit copy and resize. And what that does is it moves everything into this vertical format. Sometimes it's kind of hit and miss. It depends on what you're coming from versus what you're trying to resize into. But like for this one, it's not too bad. You know, you'll have to do like a little bit of, you know, maybe a little bit of manual resizing just to make sure that everything is good to go. But for the most part, like that's for story. And all it took was doing that resize rather than creating a new in Photoshop. It would be like creating a new document, copying over all the layers, making sure the layer styles are consistent, reorganizing the layer styles, optimizing the file, and then exporting it. With this, it's literally like 2 clicks, which makes it easy. Again, sometimes it's not what you expect. Sometimes you have to mess around with it a little bit. Other times, if you're going from like a square to a vertical, it's pretty much on point, on par every time. So that is the basics of it. Up here, you can retitle on the upper right-hand side. It's always good to use keywords in your title because when you go to search for it in your archives or your Canva library, you know, you'll be able to find what you're looking for easier and just makes it more organized. So that is that.
This is great.
This
is great. The downside, you can't Photoshop like muscles on that guy because he clearly is not a football player. So Photoshop would be allowed to do that. You can't do any of that stuff here, right?
Well, you know what? You might be able to do, you can like edit a little bit. So if you highlight your image and you go over to edit image, you can't do a lot, but you can, let's maybe give him a little more
shadow to make it look like he's a little more cut.
Yes, give him some like clarity. I mean, you can do some weird things with it, but just like, you know, in your iPhone or any of your like mobile editing, your photo editing stuff, you can do a lot of those same things in Canva. They also have some weird effects. So if you really wanted to go down the route of like, let's make it look glitchy or whatever, you know, you can do that. I don't know if it's the best use of design, but you know, it exists. It's a thing.
This is awesome. Okay, I feel like now it's one of those things though. Now I'll come back to it and I'll look and stare at the screen, but we're gonna test it. So I feel like I'll come back, I'll do something, and we'll come back and see if this tutorial helped.
Okay, so I am back. This is Taylor, and I'm gonna come in here into Canva. It's been a couple days, so I'm gonna grade some of Jon's work. He's not here with me, so it's just us. And let's hop in and see what we've got. So this Canva file, by the way, I am in the browser desktop version, just at canva.com on Google Chrome. And this file that we're working in right now is the thumbnail artwork for our weekly videos, live streams that we put out for this project called Unfantasy Football League. It's actually our own project that we've created and developed at Food Fight Studios. And Jon did this one all by himself. So this was last week's Unfantasy Football live stream thumbnail, week 4 results. And granted, he did have a few templates to pull from. I actually designed a few of these other ones before this slide. But this, I'm very impressed, I have to say. So a couple things that I'll call out that I can totally see. I'm gonna go ahead and collapse this just so it's easier to see the entire canvas on Canva. Great use of the clipping feature. So Canva automatically has this option where you go in and you're able to bring in any asset and then clip it out. So if you wanted, you could find a photo of somebody, you know, playing football or what have you. And then you can even upload your own assets. And then from there, Canva just has an option to cut out the subject of it. So that's a great use of the feature. I can tell that that's what happened here. Over here, it looks like one thing that I would change is just clipping off the edge of this. So that can either be done in Photoshop or potentially in Canva, depending on how detailed you want it, but I'm not gonna get too nitty-gritty with those kinds of things. This looks great overall. A little bit of an alignment issue. Just make sure that if you're ever copying and pasting assets that you created directly in Canva, like this logo, for example, that you just have them grouped together so that they don't get lost. And the way that you can do that, show you quickly, is to just select them all. You can drag them, or you can drag to select all, or you can select one asset, hold down your shift key and just select the additional assets in that grouping. Once you have them all selected, you just hit group, and that'll do it. So then you can you only really have to copy and paste over that one if you need individual assets like that between slides. Great use of background. One thing I might do differently is add a overlay to the background just to make these foreground subjects pop a little bit. And that can easily be done by, if you go to like a previous slide, you see we have one here. So I'm just gonna copy that, selected, copy. And before I make any changes to this one, I'm gonna duplicate it so that I'm not editing the original. Paste it, and then you're gonna send that to the back. There we go. Kind of like how that looks. Either way, both sides are good. You can kind of see a little bit more of the cutout ruggedness, we can call it, on the black background. But both of them look really good. Well, I'm very impressed at the results of somebody who went from knowing pretty much nothing about Canva to quickly being able to pick up on it. I've seen a few other assets in our shared folders. So this is great results if we're playing into the thumbnail language here. Thanks for joining us. We'll have more Canva tips like this, walkthroughs. Let us know if you guys like this kind of stuff, and we will continue creating it. Until next time.